Greek Cypriot Andreas Lordos is fighting for the restitution of his family's property and for reconciliation with Turkish Cypriots. He has been traveling regularly to Varosha, a ghost town under control of Turkish authorities. The former seaside has recently been reopened to visitors, and Lordos wants to turn Varosha into a project for the future for all of Cyprus. It's early on a Saturday in the capital of Cyprus, Nicosia. Like almost every weekend recently, Andreas Lordos sets out for Turkish North Cyprus. After driving just a few kilometers, he reaches one of the checkpoints between north and south, where he will have to present his ID and vehicle registration to the Turkish officers. Taking pictures at the checkpoint is prohibited. In 1974, a coup d'etat led to Turkey's military intervention in Cyprus. The island was divided into the ethnic Greek South, now the internationally recognized Republic of Cyprus, and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, recognized only by Turkey. The two parts are separated by a buffer zone monitored by the United Nations. So far, every initiative towards reunification has failed. Many Greek Cypriots refuse to set foot in the Turkish-occupied north. Lordos, on the other hand, keeps returning to it. His family was expelled from their home there after the island's division. He believes in the importance of communication between Greek and Turkish Cypriots, although on this morning, he's feeling outraged. The evening before, he received an email informing him that one of the buildings legally belonging to his family was slated for demolition. It stands in his hometown, Famagusta. The news was deeply upsetting.
So if the future of Famagusta will be demolishing buildings that belong to other people, with them knowing to whom these buildings belong, then I don't see much of a future, and I think that public statements made towards we will respect the lives and properties of the Famagusta people are not real.
This is the building in question, a multi-story residential house built in the 1970s. Lordos has never been inside. The building is currently managed by a Muslim foundation.
We get to read about our property in the newspapers. So today I'm going in.
There's no sign of any Turkish tenants. The building was reported to have become dilapidated. Lordos is an architect and has come to see if that's true.
And we hope that on the other end there will be open doors and some humanity. It may very well be. If it is not, we will see.
Lordos couldn't get into the cellar, and the door to the roof is locked as well. He had hoped to see more.
No keys.
The property is in a prime location right on the sea. The architect worries Turkish speculators have set their sights on it. Speculators who are betting reunification, and with it, a restitution of the property to its owners, will never happen. Lordos has filed suit with the European Court of Human Rights for the building's return, but he's still waiting on the judgment.
I think that our duty is to ensure that the property comes back into the hands of the rightful owners, and that this happens in a way which is constructive.
The North has been under Turkish occupation for almost 50 years. All moves towards reunification to date have failed. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the North Cypriot government regularly showcase their military strength, while at the same time extending a hand for reconciliation.
The owners of these buildings ought to be found, and the matter brought to a resolution.
The matter in question concerns primarily the Varosha resort on the outskirts of Famagusta. Ever since the division of Cyprus, it's been in an off-limits military zone, an abandoned ghost town, frozen in time. Back in the 1960s, Varosha was a high-class seaside resort that attracted the rich and famous from the world over. Only recently has music returned to Varosha on weekends. The Turkish authorities have opened the deserted town to visitors. Andreas Lordos took the opportunity to inspect his family's properties. Among them, this hotel, the Golden Mariana. It used to be one of the most elegant hotels here. This is where Lordos experienced the war's outbreak, an expulsion by Turkish troops in 1974.
And that is where the bomb hit the Golden Mariana. I remember our escape, which happened without father. Our mother was driving and we were in the car, and my youngest brother was 1 year old. And my mother said, if we see an aeroplane, a military aeroplane coming towards us, I will stop the car, I will let you go, and I will try and shake the aeroplane away and come back and find you.
The family managed to escape to the south of the island, where Lordos grew up. He has spent years working for reconciliation with Turkish Cypriots, and he would like to see a revival of Varosha's golden age. But first, he says the Turkish side has to recognize the claims of the original Greek property owners. Since the Turkish president gave his assurances, hardly anything has been done to that end. In the streets of Varosha, Lordos meets other Greek former residents. Most of them would be willing to return to the town, even with it under Turkish Cypriot administration.
We hear stories about our house here from our grandmother. We see how much she suffered all these years. And it's our
life as well.
Our heritage, our soul here.
We were born here. We grew up here. So why not? Bye. Both ethnic Turks and Greeks have been gathering and bringing at least some life back to this ghost town on weekends. This makes Andreas Lordos happy. They can stroll or ride rented bikes among the ruins. Street food is sold along the wide beach. Many Turkish Cypriots say they'd have nothing against the Greeks returning to Varosha.
Everyone's rights should be respected. As far as I'm concerned, the former owners can come back and do business here, as long as they recognize the Turkish Norse autonomy. Look, they're already coming.
My house is there.
Historian Anna Maragu was also evicted from Varosha. She too is calling for a peaceful solution to the Cyprus problem.
There's so much that could have been done.
She maintains that the Greek side shares part of the blame that she and other former residents from the north are still barred from returning to their homes. They missed a major opportunity at the last reunification negotiations in 2017.
The Turks never give back land. You know, their mottos. Turks never give back land. But there was an offer to give back Famagusta and to give back Morphu a month before, when Mr. Akinci and Mr. Anastasiadis met. But we don't believe it. People are not understanding that the major issue for Cyprus is reunification, so we can function together. Just take COVID, for instance. It would have been, I mean, we're a very little island. There could have been an understanding between the two parties for COVID.
Andreas Lordos is among those looking for ways to overcome the divide between Greek and Turkish Cypriots. A Turkish businessman has invited him to lunch in Famagusta's old town. He knows that Lordos owns several buildings. If an agreement is reached for the rebuilding of Varosha, there's lots of money to be made from construction contracts and tourism. That tends to encourage people to learn to get along.
I'm convinced that Varosha should be opened up again. This isn't just a question for Greeks and Turks alone. It's also about the visitors from abroad who'd start coming back. This town should be open to everyone.
For Lordos, it's not just a matter of rebuilding old Varosha. The architect spent years working on a vision for his hometown that isn't overshadowed by its tragic history, but oriented to the future. He would like to see an ecological town built by Turkish and Greek Cypriots with United Nations protection.
To regain its glories. And we're proposing exoskeleton structures which can make green walls that will provide privacy. The exoskeleton can also provide electricity that can be used to generate water from atmospheric humidity.
Not that Andreas Lordos wants the past to be forgotten. On his walk through the town, many memories from his childhood come up.
This was the main cinema of Varosha, a city which had 24 cinemas for its 40,000 people at the time.
Up until now, Greek Cypriot property owners like Andreas Lordos are being referred to a commission set up by the Turkish authorities to examine claims for compensation. That's not enough for Lordos. He wants to go back. The sooner, the better.
It's very simple. This is an island of less than 1 million people. We all know whose houses these are, and they know because the North is in control of the land registry documents as well. And from there on, it is a matter of goodwill, and if goodwill is there, we will be home soon.
Andreas Lordos' wish is that his hometown will also be a home to Turkish Cypriots, and that Varosha can contribute to the reconciliation of all of Cyprus.